Bro, what the fuck are we doing?
I've been looking at the comments recently, and they said that we haven't been giving the Seahawks enough love on the show.
Oh my guess
I'd agree.
The Seahawks are on a 4-game win streak. They were 4-5 at the bye week, and now they've won 4 games in a row. They're first in the NFC West.
You might
they
be
beat
lying.
the Cardinals twice.
I read some of the comments. Who said that?
It's probably just like one or two. So sometimes this comment stick out to me. You know, maybe one or two.
You just wanted to talk about
And
it.
I was like, we really haven't had a Seahawks topic, and the Seahawks on a 4-game win streak really was changed. What's been the difference in this team? And it really comes down to one thing. It's Mike MacDonald. It's the Seahawks defense. The performance they just had against the Cardinals was the most encouraging performance of the season. The offensive line played well. They had the most rushing yards of the season. Gino took care and protected the ball. But really, it was the first game that they didn't put the entire weight of the offense's shoulders on Gino Smith. And then the defense fooling Kyler multiple times. This Seahawks defense, at first, it started off elite. They didn't face the best competition. Then they really struggled against the run. Since Ernest Jones came to the Seahawks, Mike MacDonald, what he's doing with the Seahawks right now is Ravens 2.0. They brought in Roquan Smith. The defense turned elite. That's what Ernest Jones has been to the Seattle Seahawks this year. As soon as they made the trade and got him from Tennessee, they became a much better run defense. They cut Tyrell Dotson. Tyrese Knight, the rookie linebacker, now steps up. You know that the Seahawks are the only team that has 5 defensive linemen that has recorded 30-plus pressures this year. Leonard Williams leads the way with 40, and he's playing at an elite level. Their linebackers, Ernest and Tyrese Knight, are playing really well. Devon Witherspoon has been the best run defender
Yeah, he's always been a hammer
in the league as a corner. The best run defender. Devon Witherspoon.
You love a good hammer.
Witherspoon has been the best run defender in the league at the cornerback position. He's also playing some really good coverage. And Mike MacDonald with the Ravens. Kyle Hamilton all-pro season. Geno Stone gets paid by the Cincinnati Bengals. Julian Love is having his best career season with the Seahawks right now. Kobe Bryant, converted corners, playing really well at safety right now. Mike MacDonald has turned around this team. And Ernest Jones coming from Tennessee. His defense coordinator was Denard Wilson, who's from the Mike MacDonald tree. Yep. Ernest Jones said this about Mike MacDonald. It's almost like he's playing on the field with us. The calls he's making, it's almost always right. And Ernest Jones has been that Mike linebacker for them, communicating the play calls to that defense, and that's what's really made this defense one of the elite units. Over the past 4 weeks, only allowing 15.5 points per game, they've been one of the best defenses in the NFL.
And it's impressive they've done this in year one.
Hammer?
Yeah, you better get a hold of yourself.
So hard at a video so many times when he said Pacheco runs like a hammer. Oh my God, that video, because we all really stopped. Like, what are you talking about? Yo, that's a funny video. I gotta find that. Santos.
I have it.
Do you think I disrespected Pacheco when we did the running back list?
Not really. I think he's around like 16 to 24, right?
No,
There's so many good running backs.
That video did really well.
I saw it, yeah. We did.
And also
it's like 700,000 views.
Oh, really?
It is.
Is it TikTok?
Yeah, on TikTok, yeah.
Shout out to you. Where'd you
on
have him ranked?
TikTok.
Shit, 20s,
Yeah.
some like that.
He's like in the 20s. There's a lot of good
Him
running
and
backs.
Najee are like good backs, and they're like 18, 16.
I wanted to name this stat before you go, John. Ernest Jones, with him on the field, the Seahawks' rush success rate is 35.8%, tied for 7th best. When he was off the field, so before Ernest Jones got to the team, essentially, 41.9%, 27th in the NFL. One of the worst run defenses to one of the better run defenses with the Ernest Jones addition.
Yeah, it's crazy because it took Mike MacDonald in Baltimore 2 years to build a really elite defense with elite talent. Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith, Justin Matabuke, who developed Janie and Clowney, a very good talent. There was a lot of pieces. Patrick Quinn, a lot of first-round pedigree on that Ravens defense, and still took them a full year to become elite. We're seeing that transition happen in Seattle in year one because of the talent and the depth in that front seven. You look at Leonard Williams, who's played super well, Jonathan Hankins, Jerron Reed, the linebacker plays we've highlighted, and of course the cornerback play we've known for a while. They are loaded in the secondary from safety to cornerback. And the work that they've done, I think what's really allowed this Seattle team to kind of take it a step forward is the simple fact that their play in the trenches has improved so much in the D-line. And then you look on the other side of the ball as well. Part of what's helped that offense, I think, is just the pass protection. A guy like Charles Cross developing at left tackle. Riv, you gotta stop giggling.
He was looking for the thing, he couldn't find it.
And I just think Seattle's become a more well-rounded team. I might have used the comparison of last year's Packers for the Vikings because I think Darnold reminds me of Jordan Love last season. But I think the Seahawks could win a playoff game and surprise a good amount of people.
Who they beat? Who can they beat right now? I love questions
Well,
like this.
they're the 3rd seed, correct? So
Yeah.
they'd be playing the 6th seed, which would be the second best wild card.
Green
team.
Bay.
Is that?
So Green Bay, Minnesota potentially.
It'd have to be Green Bay.
Because Minnesota's ahead. So I would say it's Green Bay.
I would actually
Green Bay
favor
heading
Seattle.
over to Seattle.
Their defense can go up against any offense.
I would
They're
take
that
Seattle.
good.
Green
At
Bay
home?
losing in the first
Seattle
round.
at home versus Green Bay. I would take Seattle.
Defense is
right
not
now.
good right now.
No,
The Packers defense is not. No, I think the Seahawks are a serious upset potential team. Their defense is just playing at that elite of a level. If their offensive line, it all hinders on their offensive line. If their offensive line can play well and they can run the ball at least a little bit and take some pressure off of Gino, they're really dangerous.
That's the biggest question
O-line
because
to be a little better still.
they have not been able to run the ball for a majority of the season with Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, who's still one of the more explosive backs than your boy.
Zach Charbonnet.
Zach Charbonnet went out there and
run.
had the best day a Seattle running back has had in maybe a couple of seasons because he was constantly hitting holes. He looked explosive. He was breaking tackles. It was the best game, in my opinion, I've ever seen Zach Charbonnet play. Not just being the lead back, but just a given snap. He looked explosive. He looked like a running back that, actually deserves to be out there because I feel like a lot of the time when he comes in for Kenneth Walker, you see a massive drop-off, but he came in against Arizona and he was sensational. We're going to learn a lot about Seattle for the next month of the season because the rest of the season schedule, they got Green Bay this upcoming week, then Minnesota, then Chicago, and then the Rams in week 18. So these last 4 weeks, they've been sensational. When you look at EPA success rate against the run or the pass, they're top 5 in everything. And this is playing Kyler Murray twice. This is playing the San Francisco 49ers and the New York Jets, who they actually had statistically their worst offensive game, let up 21 points. They haven't allowed more than 18 points to any of the other 3 opponents, or 2 opponents, because they played Arizona twice. But this defense is for real. This is what we expected when Mike MacDonald went over to Seattle, that even though Seattle doesn't have the most, name paper, players on paper in terms of talent, like they don't have all pros at every position, Mike MacDonald is still going to get the most out of what he has. And it took him a little bit of time. Of course, the Ernest Jones trades helps a bunch, but this is one of the better defenses in football. And if you're going to be able to, number one, have a home playoff game in Seattle, and you could have a consistent run game, whether it's with Zach Charbonnet or Kenneth Walker, and you could really rely on that defense with the way JSN is playing, which we haven't even talked about. JSN has taken over this wide receiver group. He is the wide receiver one in this team. Tyler Lockett is basically nothing at this point, and DK Metcalf has taken a step back because JSN is breaking out to be arguably a top 10 wide receiver in football. The way he's able to win over the middle of the field, the way he's able to attack man and zone coverage. I think he has great feel for the game. He's great after the catch. It's a lot of what we were hoping with him coming out of Ohio State. His rookie season wasn't great, but over this last month, 6 weeks of the season, really DK got injured in the middle of the year and JSN really took a tick up. I feel like Ryan Grubb has capitalized on that and is using him in all the ways that is best fit for JSN and his prototype. It's really unlocked, or at least helped the passing game be a bit more consistent. But if you could rely on this defense, which I think can, even with this tough schedule, can still be a really, really good defense, it's going to fall back on that running game. Because no matter how good the defense is, if their rushing attack is what it has been for really basically the entire season outside of this game, I still have my questions because Gino Smith, for as accurate and as good as he can be any given week, if you're going to ask him to drop back 40 plus times with an offensive line that's pretty damn shaky, I have my real questions about that. But if they can rely on the run game with the defense, they have a real chance to be on upset alert.
They're definitely peaking at the right time, and I think the most important part of it is you peak late, because if you peak late, you kind of have a hot start going into the playoffs. Having a home game in the playoffs in a one-game scenario is so important. You feel like you have the crowd behind you. You feel like it's electric. You kind of have that home buzz. You get to stay at home for the week. You got the family there, the friends there.
You get to sleep in your own bed.
Yeah, you get to. Some guys can't, but you get the extra motivation. And I think for me, the main problem is that offensive line, because I think going up against a team like Green Bay, what are the chances that Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary wreck that game?
Right now, none.
Yeah, right now, none. But, you get it on any given Sunday, they have the talent to do it. What are the chances that secondary comes out of nowhere and just starts playing really well? Like Green Bay is one of those teams where on any given Sunday, they can just randomly be the talented defense that they should be. So I think that's a tough one. I think outside of those, like NFC South is a wash. I don't even remember. Oh, Washington. I think Seattle can easily beat the Commanders. I think it really comes down to those top teams where, you look at Philly, you got Jalen Carter, you got Nolan Smith, you got all them boys who can really destroy that offensive line. You look at Detroit, they may not have Aiden Hutchinson, but their front seven has been playing pretty solid football. You look at Minnesota, another one where their front seven has been playing some solid football, and that defense can offer multiple blitz packages that can really disrupt that offensive line. And to not have a running game, that's another thing. You look at the top teams. You got Sonic and Knuckles. You got Saquon Barkley. You got Josh Jacobs over there in Green Bay, who they can run the ball, which alleviates some of the passing game for these quarterbacks. Seattle doesn't really have that. And it's not to say Kenneth Walker is not talented. It's really more that offensive line just doesn't get pushed. And I fear that could be something that really hinders them because it really hasn't been there all season. Like we're in week 12, 13, whatever it is, and it has no means of getting better or getting consistent. But nonetheless, Seattle is peaking at the right time. You got 2 important wins against the Cardinals. You really needed those, which were division games too, really important. It kind of feels like Seattle's probably going to win the division. The defense is really playing high-level football. And you mentioned it. They have a lot of guys that are maybe not the brightest in the media. You don't hear them every day on morning talks or, these shows. But Mike MacDonald has really got these guys, on his Kevin O'Connell shit or his Brian Flores shit where he's just having guys outperform what they're worth or what their money is saying. So shout out to Seattle. They're peaking at the right time. The question really is playoff time. You expect them to win a playoff game. They're playing at that level. Who are they going to draw? How can that offensive line play? How much help can Gino get from that supporting cast? Can the run offense be really good and sustainable?
I'm glad that you mentioned the pressure packages because that's been the biggest change. If you can't stop the run, you can't get teams into 3rd and longs and really open up that pressure package. Because they've been able to stop the run, Mike MacDonald has been able to really do some next level stuff with his pressure packages. There was a play against Arizona where they start off in a 2-high shell, they rotate over to single high, then the 2 safeties switch their positions, and the 1 safety drops to the hook to take away the flat, and they're blitzing while they're doing that. Like, that's why I give some grace to Collar for the performance he had, because I genuinely think that when you face Seattle and their defense, there's just so many things you have to think about, really with Mike MacDonald in general. And that's what makes them so dangerous, really how well that defense is playing. I love Gino Smith. This game, 18% of his dropbacks, he was pressured on in the gun, lowest this year. And he has the most true dropbacks in the NFL this season, which is dropbacks with no play action and that are not screenplays. So airing the ball out, essentially. In those dropbacks, which he has the most in the NFL, he's 4th in completion percentage, he's 1st in on-target rate, he's 5th in success rate, and he's 8th in first down and touchdown rate while being pressured on 35.5% on those dropbacks. I just pray that Gino, before he is still young enough to play at this level, because he is 34, he gets a chance to really have a stable situation around him, and he gets to truly elevate that situation because he's elevating a bad offensive line and bad run game. If you give him that with a defense that's playing this well, I think that's really a dangerous team that we're talking about as a potential contender. But because those things are question marks, that's why you have those question marks about Seattle as a whole.